we're having our next guest. It's Bart Van Deville, who is a principal solutions consultant at Adobe. Adobe is also actually one of our amazing sponsors. Hi, Bart. How are you?
Hi, not too bad, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Thanks for the great introduction.
That's great to hear. We were expecting some rain here in Sofia, but it's been a very sunny day, which actually maybe spoke for a great conference, and we're really excited to have you now. So in the next actually 25, 30 minutes or so, Bart is going to talk about a very actually important topic, I think, for people even who are not designers, because you will see like behind the scenes and how Adobe Creative Cloud can close the gap with presentation design. So, Bart, the stage is yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the great introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining my session today. So my name is Bart, and I do work for Adobe as a principal solution consultant. And yes, I do kind of feel like this is my dream job right now. So in the last 20 years, I've been working in the design world professionally, and now I'm just doing presentations on design and Adobe's products because in these last 20 years, every single product that I've been using for graphic design had an Adobe logo on it. So it's kind of, it's kind of makes sense for me just to do these kinds of things now. So today I'm going to talk about how to close the gap with Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, you might be thinking, what gap? What gap is there? Well, the thing is that this is the gap between the design world and I'm just going to call it the client world. So the client could be you, could be yourself, or it could be someone you're working with. So basically, it's someone that is looking to build a presentation or build a better presentation with graphic design content that's fun, that looks really nicely designed, and that's engaging. But of course, you need to work with someone. You need to work with the designer to get that there in time and with a decent amount of quality. So I'm going to try and show you a couple things here. First of all, I want to basically talk about a couple things that will help you to better engage with your designer. And I'm going to basically take you behind the scenes of some of the functionalities and things that designers tend to use, or they should be using, to actually accelerate their work and basically meet the deadline. Okay, so with that, let's get started. So first of all, there's one thing I did want to kind of emphasize here, which is something I call the stress cycle, which is something that for me, coming from a design background, is something that I've been dealing with like for 20 years now. So the first thing that we usually encounter where things tend to go absolutely wrong is the briefing or the lack of briefing or the wrong briefing. So the thing is that if you have a presentation where you're looking to get more designed content and you're thinking of just asking a designer to do that for you, you can't just say things like, oh, we need a graphic here. We need a graphic. What is a graphic? What does that mean? Okay, this is way too vague. So you have to put in the proper briefing descriptions as well. I'm going to talk about that later in the next slide. I'm going to give you guys a couple of pointers here, but again, it's something that you really, really have to put your time into. The designer has to clearly understand what it is that you're looking for and what it is that you want them to deliver to you. Okay, in the end, you're going to be the one to have to go through this presentation. You're the one on the deadline. Okay, so it's kind of a help them to help you kinds of situations. Secondly, the tight deadline. What is the deadline? If I want to get my hallway painted next week, I might say, well, I think it's probably like over 2 hours worth of work. Well, if I'm going to hire a professional to paint my hallway, I'm going to ask them, how long would this take? They're the professional. I'm asking their help. It's the same thing with graphic designers. They're the professionals. If you're thinking of a certain graphic that looks a certain way with a certain picture, talk to them about this. Do you have this picture? No, we don't. Where are you going to get the picture? Like, you have to talk this through. So you have to set clear expectations. Thirdly, the lack of collaborative platform. So you might be thinking, well, that's great. I'm just going to ask the designer to send me all of the assets through using Dropbox and WeTransfer, or they can put it on the SharePoint. But in the end, you need to receive these graphics in a certain way where you can actually use and apply them where you actually want to apply them. Let's say PowerPoint or Google Slides, for example, for building your presentation. And how are you going to share those assets once you've received them with your peers? And more importantly, it's not just about receiving the assets once, because if you go to the last bullet, the last minute changes, what will happen if you ask for a last minute change? The graphic designer supplies you with that updated graphic. How are you going to make sure that everybody sees that that graphic has been updated instead of you kind of hogging onto it? So that's something that we have to be very, very careful for. And all of this It's only going to cost you time, and it's going to cause a lot of stress for the designer. So let's try and think about these things. Now, I'll be honest, I only have 2 slides for this presentation. Everything else is going to be hands-on demo. So the thing is that a couple things that you can ask a designer to supply to you in order for you to improve the quality of your presentations. First of all, if you require this person to hand you or design you icons, ask for vector icons. Okay, ask them to do you that favor, which means you can scale them up and down without loss of quality. PowerPoint and Google Slides work with those perfectly. So ask for PDF, EPS, whatever it is, as long as you ask for a vector file format. Expect more from your designer. Okay, don't ask them to design, the bullseyes or the designs, suited man running up the hill and all that kind of stuff. We've seen this a million times. Don't degrade the quality of your work by keep asking those kinds of things. Request full images if you do have images that need to be designed. You can do the cropping within PowerPoint or whatever application you might be using for the presentation, but you never know which section you might be needing from that picture for which type of presentation or generic background. Share your branding if you have any branding. Share your logo, the proper version of the logo. Share your colors. Tell them which fonts you're using. Share the presentation that you've made up until now for them to actually see the context of the graphics they have to design. Okay, and then briefing. I add a couple of bullet points here. I'm not going to read every bullet point here. We can all read. But the thing is that you have to give them a proper briefing. If you can, invest in stock footage. Everything is stock footage. That's very cheesy. It's not anymore, not today, and not if you ask a designer to work and look for stock footage. Okay, just so set aside a couple of euros or dollars or pounds or whatever currency you might be using to actually acquire a couple of really good looking stock images. Now, with that, you need to set up a design system. So with that, what you can do is you can use something called Creative Cloud Libraries, which is basically an online repository for design assets specifically. And you can share those assets with other non-designers, like yourselves, for example, and you can actually use those directly within PowerPoint and Google Slides. Okay, I'm going to show you everything, so don't worry too much. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my slides here, and I'm just going to dive into the applications themselves. So I'm going to hide PowerPoint for now. I'm going to go through a couple of things here. Now, first of all, you have to set the mood. So if you have an idea of what your design should look like, if you have input for the designer, use something like Adobe Color. So color.adobe.com. And from here, you can just set the mood. You can basically design your own color scheme or your own color theme from here, and you can start going. Now, this is one way of working with this. I'm actually logged in at the top right here with my Adobe account. You don't need to have a paid subscription to Adobe software to use this. This is a free service. With that, of course, you can use stock footage as well. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and I've used something called Adobe Stock to find the stock images I want. Now, why am I looking at fitness images? Well, simply, here in this session, I'm going to represent my client, and my client is a company called Altura. And Altura is a fitness company who's just brought out a brand new fitness wearable watch to sell. And we're working on the presentation to launch this new product. So with that, you can actually get these really good looking images that actually shows real people. Now, I do realize that a lot of them might be a bit over the top, but like this image, for example, seems like a very normal image, very normal people that we can identify ourselves with here. So what I've done is I've actually downloaded 2 of these images here. This is the first one, and this is the second one here. So these just come from Adobe Stock. So what I can do is I can actually take these images into Adobe Color. So if I click here, if I choose something like Extract Theme, I can just take that image and drop that straight here onto Adobe Color, and it will generate a color scheme, a color theme for me. And this is what I can do. I can now just create the mood for my presentation straight from here because I really like this image and I want to use this in my campaign. With that, you can just hit the save button and you can either send that to your designer, or if there's an account involved, you can just hit the save button and share this into what we call a library. Now the library looks like this here. So this is the Creative Cloud library that I've built. I've actually saved that color theme here as well. And I've also saved a couple of other things. I have a gradient, I have a blue, black, and a white version of my logo, and I also upload that very first fitness image. And I might actually upload that other version of that image. I actually made a smaller version of this one here. I just drag and drop into that image. Now, the thing is that everything gets collected here inside of this library. Now, what I can now also add is additional things. For example, if I were to be designing something like a brochure, me as a designer, we want to make sure that your presentation is going to be on brand as well. So what I can do is I can now just come in and use the styling of the text. So I'm using a font called Ephra. I can use that. I can save that back into that same library. So I have now a style for the text, and I might be able to use a style for these titles as well. And that's kind of thing because you want to be on brands as the marketing manager or the business presenter, and you want to reuse these things here. And when you add something to that same library, it appears here, it appears here, it appears everywhere where we're using this library. So that's something that's really, really important. Now with that, what we can do is we can go to something like Adobe Illustrator. So here I have downloaded, again, some more template material that all came from Adobe Stock. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I just typed in infographic and I just downloaded a couple here. Now you might be thinking, well, why do I need a designer if I can just template everything? Well, you need a designer to work with the templates because you basically have to detach and extract and change the fonts and the styling and the composition and adapt the information to the infographic. And you need a specialist for this. So what I've done here is I've actually taken the text here. I've changed the text a little bit. So this is going to be like an interactive or a more, let's say, a more designed version of a graph that I can use here. And I can start playing around with this. Now, the thing is that there's a couple things I do want to do. Now, first of all, look at all these colors here. They're all very generic colors, but they don't really match my brands. These are the brand colors now, remember? Because I extracted those colors from this image because I really like the look and feel of this image. So I need to basically recolor these infographics now. And I can do this. I actually place in that same image here as well. And what I can do now is I can now just select all of this imagery, these interactive or like these more designed infographics. I can choose to recolor this. And so with that, I can actually choose to pick a different color theme. And I just click to select that one picture. And it will extract the colors from it, and it will apply that directly to this infographic. If you're not happy with how the pictures or how the colors are being applied, you can always just go ahead and randomize these just a little bit until you kind of get the look and feel that you're looking for here. So I'm just going to go through this a couple of times. I do want this to look good. This is actually not too bad. I can still go ahead. You can still go ahead. You can change the brightness. You can change the intensity of some of the colors here, for example. You have full control. So again, stock image. We have a basic color theme, which is the basics. And from there, we're going to generate other types of graphics. I'm going to try this once more. I'm going to try this exact same thing here with this here, because I do need to use this in the presentation as well. Color theme picker, click that exact same image, and now I have the exact same colors being applied here as well. Now it's just up to me to further refine these colors. So I can just click and I'll pick the other colors here straight from my color theme. Now, I started with nothing. It was very easy to get all of this up and running in a fraction of the time. Stock, imagery, and templates are really going to help you here. Let's take a look at the text here. So the text is a basic font. It's a basic font that I'm using here. The font itself that I have, I'm going to select the text here. The text that I have here, I have applied a font which is called Ephra. Now, where did I get this font? Well, if you take a look at another service that we can use, there is a, there we go, there's a web page called Adobe Fonts. So this gives me as a designer access to over 30,000 different fonts. And I found the font Ephra simply by clicking on the different types of fonts and filtering down until I found the font I was looking for. I'm looking for a clean font that has a relative width, or maybe it has a very fine width, for example. And based on that, I can now just click these buttons and it will synchronize the fonts and put them on my hard drive. The cool thing is this even exists for PowerPoint. So if I go back to say PowerPoint, and if I need to, let's say, work on my very first template for my presentation, I can actually take a look here. See those cloud icons? These are all Adobe fonts that I can synchronize to my Microsoft solutions as well. So this means that if I type in EFFRA, I can actually start to use these fonts as well to further build my template. Okay, again, one central repository which feeds everything. Now with that, I can actually start to apply different colors I have to basically start to build up that central library. So once I've got something like this here, again, I might be able to just select the text. Let's just quickly change this to a white color for now. And the cool thing is that once you have this, you just have to take this element, you have to select the library that you're working on, and you simply just drag and you drop it into the library. Okay, same thing here. I can take this, drag and drop into the library. Take these icons here, for example. I'm going to take the let's take this one here, the mindfulness icon. Same thing, drag and drop, or you choose to add it like this here, drag and drop. Same thing here, drag and drop. I'm populating a curated gallery of assets that I require. And the cool thing is that everything will come together in PowerPoint in just a couple of minutes. With that, I can also use all sorts of really, really cool Photoshop applications. Let's take a look at Photoshop. So I've downloaded these two stock images that I want to use in my campaign, so you can use them inside of PowerPoint here. So what I can do as a designer now is I can use all sorts of AI, as in artificial intelligence driven functionalities, to quickly change up these images. So for example, if I were to take a look at this image here, this looks great, but the sky is a bit dull. What I can do is I can change the sky to kind of brighten up the presentation. So with that, I just have to go into the edit menu and choose sky replacement, again, which is a new AI-driven functionality where it will just basically select everything in the foreground for me, and now I just have to go ahead and choose the sky I want. And yes, of course, I can add my own skies if I do have a certain sunset that I have great memories of. So if I were to click here, it will actually apply that sunset. And not just that, it will actually also change the brightness and change the temperature, for example, of the sky and that girl as well. Because if I change the color adjustment settings, it will actually start to recolor that subject. And I can use this here as well. So with that, you have a brand new image that you can now use in your campaign. With that, same thing here. This is the original image I have. I absolutely love this image, but I don't like the way she looks. I want her to be happy with my brand new product. So what I can do instead is I can go up here to the filter menu and choose something. Let's say I'm going to choose the brand new neural filters. So anything that you ask of your designer, there's a good chance there's an AI-driven option somewhere that enables them to actually use all this kind of stuff. And so with that, what I can do is I can use something called Smart Portrait that will enable me to change the facial expression of my subject. As you can see, I actually have a happiness slider now. There's a surprise slider, there's an anger slider. Now I'm still looking for an extra feature here. I'm going to ask someone at Adobe to maybe add a slider that says something like, I'm not angry with you, but I'm very disappointed, like that kind of slider. So I think it's something that I do think that we're missing here. So with that, I can just click the happiness option. I'm going to crank it up all the way to 50. I think she deserves a 50 happiness, if you ask me. Now, this is something that gets processed in the cloud, so you just have to send a bit of data into the cloud. That's why it's working right now. This might take about 20 seconds, something like that, but it is very, very powerful. This is something that was developed together with the engineers from NVIDIA, so the ones that build all the graphic cards for your PCs. Well, they're very much into the AI-driven functionalities as well. And look at that, all of a sudden, she's smiling and she has teeth. And this was just a regular picture. So I can just do anything I want. I can change her age, her gaze, anything I want here. So with that, I just have to press OK, and maybe just kind of refine the edge here in the neck, which is not 100% perfect. So I'm just going to choose OK. It's going to create some layers for me. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds here. And with that, I can actually continue on with my main image. So it's something we call the hero image in graphic design terms. There we go. I might just actually just come in and just brush this away a little bit here. I'm going to give this. There we go. This looks pretty good. So now she's actually smiling. And so with that, we can actually come in. I'm going to merge this here. Now we have this image, and we can actually start to play around with this. What if I want to change the background? Let's just say, like, I want to use this in PowerPoint, but I don't want to use this generic background. I want to place this girl anywhere I want in my presentation with a transparent background. That's absolutely fine, because if I take a look here at the options, there is a remove background option. You just click remove background, and with that, it is just going to remove the background. Now, of course, you still need a designer to come in and refine just a couple of things here. So the only thing I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to get rid of this here in the middle. Boom, and just have to click once. And there's a bit of color like in here, like if he has a bit of fuzzy hair. I'm just going to take this brush and I'm just going to brush over this just to get rid of the colors inside of that fuzzy hair. And with that, I am just going to click OK. And now I have a perfectly extracted woman here. So let's just quickly make it a bit smaller because it is a very, very large image here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to scale this down just a little bit. And with that, I am also going to click a few buttons. I'm going to apply the mask. And I'm also going to add her now to that library. Again, I'm feeding the library so you can use it in PowerPoint. We'll go to that in just 1 second. There's one more image I do want to change up a little bit, and that is I do have a campaign that's almost ready where I would like to use a template. So we are working on a poster campaign, and I have to basically get some buy-in from my other peers at the company with this presentation I have to do to launch my brand new product. So what I can do is I can take a look at the Photoshop templates, which are basically mock-ups of everything you ever want to mock up. Web pages, mobile devices, posters, cinematic introductions, anything you want, basically. And so with here, if you type in something like poster, it will give you a lot of different hits of basically poster mockup applications. So you can basically choose to say how you would like to propose or present the work that you currently have. So what I've done here in the background is I've actually taken one of these templates that I've downloaded, and let me show you what it looks like. It looks like this here. So this is, I think it's somewhere in Amsterdam, where we currently have this. So we've got some room here to put the poster up. And so the only thing I need to do is I need to double click the layer. It's very simple, right? So I have a picture, I have a mock-up, I have everything. So I'm going to double click this here, which opens up the contents. And now I just kind of just add my poster design. Now, this has been asked for me beforehand, so I do have an idea because this is the billboard that I wanted to design. Now, how did I build this kind of stuff? Again, it's very, very easy. I'm going to get rid of a couple things here. I just place in the image, and from the exact same library, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping everything that you need from that central library. And anything you see here, you can do as well. It's just dragging and dropping. Now, the cool thing is that when you have something like this, look what I can do. I can import, so I can choose to import, for example, that exact same design into this file. Look, I'm going to save this, and I am going to take a look at my billboard, and now I have my perfect mockup. This is great for my presentation. And this really doesn't take a lot of time. The only thing I need is I need to know exactly what is it you're looking for. Do you have a proper logo? Do you have a color theme? Do you have a central image that you like? And the thing is that by using something like these libraries, you can actually go into something like Adobe Stock, and you, even if you don't have a paid subscription to this Adobe solution, you can still create a library of your own. Download in low resolution the images that you like. Take 5 or 6, and you can share that library online with your designer so they can use it in their design software. So they know exactly the mood board that you're looking for, and they can make the final choice for you. You give them something to work with, and that's basically how you collaborate. But you have to take on this system first, so you open up a way to better collaborate. This beats email, this beats SharePoint, Dropbox, WeTransfer, whatever, because it's built for designers, because it enables you to save certain things into the library that does not have a dedicated file repository, which means how do you save a color? You can't save a color in Dropbox. You can't. How do you save a text style? You can't save a text style in Dropbox, or you cannot send a text style, using email. You can't. This is built for this. And so with that, everything comes together. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to save a very small version of this. I'm going to scale this down to, let's say, about 15%. That's good enough. 15%. I'm going to call this billboard small.jpg. And with that, it's just a matter of taking that billboard small and again, dropping this into the library. When you have the library, you hit the plus symbol where you can share this with your customer, with your peers, with anyone you want. You can set editing or viewing rights. If I choose view, that means that you will receive the library. You can take stuff out using PowerPoint. You cannot add things. You cannot mess this up for anyone else. You cannot delete things. You cannot change things. I'm in control. This is a curated gallery. And why do we have this? It's simple. Nobody likes to dig through assets on the server. And anything you want to avoid is that you asking someone from marketing to send the logo. They have no idea what the proper version of the logo is. So they just go to their own web page to download the logo from their own web page because that's the only public place they seem to be finding your logo. This does not make any sense. Set this up per brand, per campaign, per region, per product. I don't care how you build this up. These are my libraries. I use this for everything. I have my own Adobe branding in here as well. So once you invited someone, look what happens. They go to PowerPoint. They have a Creative Cloud button. How do you get the Creative Cloud button? It's easy. You go to Insert, you choose Add-ins, you choose Get Add-ins. You get like the Microsoft App Store. You click, you type in Adobe, you get the Creative Cloud app. You click the app, and from here, as you can see, you have the exact same assets that I have as a designer. And now it's time to finish up. It's time to say, you know what? I'm working on a slide here. I don't mind to build something like this, and I need to place the logo. The logo is perfectly scalable up and down without loss of quality. I can place this anywhere, and it's curated. I can take that girl that I made transparent using Photoshop, and I can place her anywhere I want. I can place my products in here as well. And again, you can now keep working on this, and you can just use everything without loss of quality, without squishing it, any size, anywhere, any presentation. And when you're using things like here, like you can actually start to use your color themes, for example. You can start to use other types of things. Let's say that, for example, we're still working on that one infographic that we want to put somewhere, which talks about the types of exercise that people get. So let's just say that I'm going to go back to Creative Cloud. This is what we built using Illustrator. This is the infographic that I did want to talk about. You can set it anywhere you want. And the cool thing is that if you ever go ahead and if you want to ask changes, let's say this is something like that, but let's say we made a mistake, this should be 96% running, that's absolutely fine. You ask your designer to make that change. That designer only has to double click the original graphic, open it up in their design application, and change that, let's say 96%. When you save it, it has updated the graphic in the library. So this means that if you were to go back and replace this now, then you will notice that now I have the proper version of it. And that's something that's really, really powerful, because once you send something off via email and you make a last minute change, there's no way for you to guarantee that everyone will have the latest version. If you have the entire team on this one curated gallery of assets, designed assets, everyone will always have the latest version for everyone. If you're missing something, just say, hey, we're missing a logo in the library and we really need this as well. You know what? That's absolutely fine. You can just take anything you want. Let's just say we're going to use an extra picture here, anything else that you might need. Let's take something from, there we go. Let's say we need the cutlery icon. I just need to, again, drag and drop this in here. And the moment it's in there, anyone that is following that library can now go back and take out that asset. This is how simple you can cater to your clients and to your peers. So with that, where I briefly discussed briefings, how to talk to your designers, the advantages that you have by using stock imagery and stock photography, and how you can manipulate that, and more importantly, how you build a centralized hub, a curated gallery of any design assets you might want, perfectly compatible with PowerPoint, with Word, Microsoft Teams, Google Slides, you name it. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and see if I have any questions.
Wow, Bart, that was a great overview of how we can actually get how we can take advantage of Adobe. And we were just talking with our designers that maybe we're not using that enough. So we will definitely try out some of the things that you mentioned. I think it was a great overview also for the people who are probably working with designers and you're wondering what they do behind the scenes, because no, it doesn't happen with a button exactly, but yeah, there are some tricks that they use. So I think it's good for people to know them. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time, but we have one question which I think would be nice to discuss, and it's what happens if you use an Adobe font in a PowerPoint presentation? Can you embed that font? Bart, you're on mute. We don't hear you.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
it must have unmuted me when I stopped sharing. Okay, no, so the thing is that what you can do is you can sign up for a free account. Okay, that free account comes with a certain subset of fonts. So if you make a font choice, make sure it's included in the free version of that account. That's one thing. If you have that, you have the font anywhere available on your machine, PowerPoint, Word, doesn't matter what you're using. You cannot copy the font out of Adobe Fonts. It's just not possible because of license management reasons and then legal purposes. But anyone can sign up for the free account. Okay, if you have the free account, when you're logged in, it will keep those fonts available on your machine all the time. But you cannot extract it and then do with it whatever you want. Fonts are extremely expensive. That's why you can't do this. But you have a way to get all the benefits from the font without actually purchasing it, and that's something you can do with a regular free account. So that would definitely, it's not what you specifically wanted, but it's still going to fill the need why you asked that question.
Okay, that's pretty useful, I would say. So thanks a lot for this session. It was really nice to do your magic. So I hope you will stay for the rest of the conference, or maybe you can check in one today or tomorrow. So we hope we'll see you around. Thanks a lot so much.
Definitely.